Forget everything that you know about Adam Sandler. Actually, never mind. You're probably not going to want to watch a video about a guy you don't know. Relearn everything about Adam Sandler. Waterboy, Hubie Halloween, The Wedding Singer. Now forget everything that you know about stand-up comedy specials, because Josh Safdie and Adam Sandler have expanded the genre of what a stand-up special can be with I Love You. It starts with the commonly used intro of our comedian arriving to the venue. But as opposed to others trying to paint themselves as rock stars with generic, royalty-free electric guitar riffs, Sandler actually is a star, and Safdie's able to perfectly capture the uncomfortable anxiety that comes along with that level of fame. After his car is chased down like Paul McCartney at the height of Beatles mania, he's escorted through the mob of fans in a back alley. Sandler acknowledges they're there for him, but he has a show to get to. It'd be impossible to stop and sign something for everyone, so he walks through like a politician, giving fist bumps where he can. He stops when he sees a small child timidly standing in the middle of the frenzy of grown men, and shows concern he's out in such a hectic situation. The child hands him photos of himself taken by a voyeur that's been stalking him through his apartment windows. The older man says, "We got these in Times Square, can you sign them for my son?" Knowing something's not right, he asks, "When's his birthday?" The older man says, "Oh, go ahead, tell him." Then he goes, "No, you tell me." The older man scrambles, I lost my memory during COVID, I don't remember." Adam walks away disappointed as the old man yells after him, "You said you would sign for children!" This instance of using a child to emotionally manipulate him sets the tone for the rest of the special. A very real and dark tension is created that doesn't let up. At the backstage curtain, a security guard approaches him and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Sandler, my son is such a big fan, could you?" He starts to say, "Of course, just after the performance I could." Then she goes, "He's in the hospital, he's had a big accident." As he's apologizing, she turns her phone to show her son on FaceTime in a hospital bed, covered in blood. He's screaming with excitement as the audience is screaming for the show about to start. He knows he has to go, but he can't walk away because he doesn't want to disappoint as the security guard is looking on in adoration. The opening act walks back and thanks him. His ventriloquist dummy is also thanking him, saying he felt real tonight. His attention is being pulled in every direction, trying to be for everybody what they need him to be. He's played on stage and walks out to the cheering crowd and notices the Windows desktop background on the monitors above the stage. The blue screen of death appears, and an awkward exchange with the sound guy halts the momentum of the show. They agree to start anyway without the multimedia element, and they'll work on fixing it with the screens off. Adam's opening jokes acknowledge his level of fame, with tongue-in-cheek stories of fans getting tattoos of him, his professional grape feeder reassuring him he hasn't changed with the success, and a 1-foot-tall stalker named Charlie Mungo threatening to murder him. An altercation breaks out in the crowd, with audience members fighting with each other over the way they're laughing, and Sandler has to de-escalate the situation. This, along with the monitor not working and the stage caving in under the piano later in the set, were obviously scripted and part of the meta-narrative Safdie is creating about everything that can go wrong with a live performance. While these moments were fake, they're a more honest representation of live stand-up comedy than the perfectly polished stand-up special. Typically 2 to 6 shows are filmed over the course of a weekend, wearing the same clothes every night, and instead of the camera staying centered on you while you choke on your beer or look at a note card with the word dog dick scribbled on it, wondering what the hell you're supposed to say next, the wide angle cuts to a close-up, filmed 25 hours later, and with the power of editing magic, a setup told on Friday goes straight to a punchline told on Saturday, and you look like a consummate professional that never makes a mistake.
Even this video essay wasn't filmed in one day. Is that a bear? Are there bears here? Hi, doggy. Are you a good dog? Hi, doggy. Go home. Go to your owner, dog. Right, go. The first time I tried to shoot it, I'm lighting the shot with my car's headlights. I was just running it off of battery power, and fucking dumb. Obviously, my battery died, and I was stranded in the middle of a field, and I had to walk to a bowling alley down a dirt road trying to get somebody to jumpstart my car. And this is fucking terrifying to walk up to. I'm in the middle of nowhere with a camera set up to a launch. It looks like a murder scene. It looks like I'm about to kill somebody. I've opened for a special once in my career. I won a competition to open for Robert Kelly on tour to Mexico, and then after remaining in touch and doing video editing work, he asked me to open for his upcoming special directed by Louis C.K. And that meant so much to me. I was such a big fan of Opie and Anthony, and I still had a framed picture of Louis C.K. in my childhood bedroom. I told my dad about it, and then the next day my mom calls me and goes, "So your father told me you're doing a TV thing with Robert Kelly? Jared, I looked him up on Google. He's a serial rapist." I go, "Serial? Are you sure? I don't think so." She goes, "He's been peeing on little boys. There's a whole documentary on it." I go, "Ma, how is this the first time you've heard of R. Kelly?" She goes, "I don't know and I don't care. I don't want you working with that man." I go, "Ma, it's a different Bob Kelly. I'm not opening for the R&B musician in federal prison." She goes, "Well, good." I go, "All right. Don't Google the other guy involved in it either. It's a different Louis C.K." She goes, "Okay. I love you. I love you too." I show up to the venue, which was a warehouse space that was converted into a comedy club for the weekend. 2 hours before filming, the pre-production was already scrambling with Louis taking charge. He's like, "What are with these lights?" They go, "Oh, it's on the same circuit that's powering the stage. We can't turn those off." He goes, "Well, take out the lights." They go, "We can't. They're recessed in the housing." He goes, "All right, we'll get on a ladder, put gaffer's tape on them, cover the openings." They go, "All right, we'll do." "All right, let's frame the shot. Somebody get on stage." "No, that's no good. It's nothing right now. We need something to. What was the name of that Rolling Stones concert film in the 70s? The one in Boston. Yes, that one. Grab the big black equipment cases with silver trim, stage those in the background." "No, not those ones, just the big ones." "Yes, perfect. Camera one, you're gonna frame the shot as a cowboy medium." "Did you go to film school? Do you know what I'm talking about?" "Nope, doesn't matter. Just frame it slightly above his head and then a little below his waist. That's how they would frame it in the old Western movies to show off the gunslinger's pistol." "Are all the camera temperatures synchronized?" "We want purple. Not blue, purple." And I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, but he's insanely busy and I can't interrupt. His manager comes up to me and it's like, "Oh, are you the host for tonight?" I go, "Yeah, hi, I'm Jared." She goes, "Oh, perfect. And have you ever done comedy before?" I'm like, "Yeah, just for like 6 years." She's like, "Great. When you go up there, just bring the energy, warm them up, let them know it's a really big deal that they're here. And tapings I've been to before, they let them know to laugh. Even if it's not funny, just laugh extra loud, even if you don't think it's funny." I'm like, "That doesn't sound right at all, but okay." So I go in the back and I write out an intro on a little note card. I come back out and Louis like, "Do you know what you're gonna say?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote this thing on a note card." He goes, "What? No, you host here, right? Like at the comedy club?" I go, "Yeah, all the time." He goes, "Just do it like that. Just go up there like you're hosting at Side Splitters, and then I need you to say these three things. Got it?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, we're just gonna do a dry run. We're gonna have the live band play you on stage. Go up there, say what you're gonna say at first. You don't have to do your act, that would be brutal. But just do the closing announcements and then wrap it up." I go, "Okay." The live band is up in the balcony playing Sweet Caroline, and I'm waiting to go on. My heart's racing. They introduce me to the stage. I walk up to an empty room. There's just scattered camera operators and production assistants, and then Louis standing in the middle of the room with his arms crossed. And I go, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" The silence, and I'm like, "Come on, you can do better than that." And then Louis loudly claps 3 times, and there's a quiet smattering of applause from the rest of the crew, and then somebody lets out a light. Woo! I do the closing announcements, and I want to leave on something funny. It was right after the Oscar slap, so I go, "All right, everybody, there'll be no Will Smith incidents." Louis just goes, "No." I trail off my sentence. "Oh, we're in Florida. We have snipers in the." "Nope, we're not doing that." My face gets immediately hot. I'm like, "I'm sorry." He goes, "Well, finish the announcements." I'm like, "All right, the show will be starting shortly. Thank you." I'm so embarrassed. I just walk out. I don't look at anybody. I go through the back hallway, keep walking to the fire escape, leave the building, go down the sidewalk to the nearest Freedom Bar, and I'm like, "Yeah, can I get a double?" I just need like gas station methadone to numb the embarrassment. It didn't click until later that Chris Rock is Louis C.K.'s close personal friend. It wasn't just like a current event headline to make a joke about. It was like his buddy that got assaulted on national television. He could have been like the first person that Chris Rock called after that happened. Dude, I feel like such a fucking idiot. It gets to showtime and I'm high enough that I could look them in the eyes again. And they turned off the AC in the building. That way you don't hear the buzz of the air conditioner while they're filming. So the venue's getting progressively hotter as people are packed in like sardines. I go up, have a good set, Nail the announcements, no Chris Rock joke, and then the band plays Bob on stage. I'm in the hallway talking to the other local comedians that are there as volunteers, and then Louis walks by and gives me a hard slap on the shoulder and a good job, kid. Oh, my heart melted. All the other comedians started rubbing my jacket when he walked away, licking it, telling me to never wash the coat again. While that's going on, I hear from the crowd, "Help her." A woman passed out in the second row. The house lights came on, chairs were thrown out of the way, all the nurses were trying to wake her up, checking her vital signs. It was just chaos. They move her out into the lobby to wait for the paramedics. Everyone in the crowd is talking to each other about what the hell just happened. And then Louis walks into the showroom and gives everyone a, "She's good." There's a huge sigh of relief. Everybody claps. Here's the thing, Louis had no idea if she was good. He just needed everybody to calm down and get back to the show. She ended up being all right, but Louis would have done the same thing if she was dead. That way they could get the shot. The rest of the show was good, but it was still off from having to recover from that fiasco. And then Bob comes backstage and he's having a panic attack. He's just melting down. It's one night only. They only had the crew for 2 shows, and the first one was shot. He was freaking out, and Louis was trying to reassure him, just like, "No, that one was good. We could cut around it. We could still make it good. That one was great. The second one's going to be even better." He starts showing Bob Bill Belichick Game 7 motivational speeches on his phone. He's showing him like JFK speeches, just trying to get him back in the zone. As a director, he was a coach, he was a videographer, he was a PR, crisis management team. He was wearing 20 different hats directing that special. The second show went excellent, and they left with a perfectly polished final product. The thing that was interesting about the Adam Sandler special was how Safdie was able to perfectly capture that first show chaos. The handheld cameras and the lack of audience reaction shots had you grounded in the center of the audience. Safdie's main theme as a filmmaker is that nothing is going to be okay. Uncut gems and good times focus on inevitable doom, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. This is juxtaposed with Adam Sandler's body of work, where everything is always going to be okay. The basic beats of a Happy Madison film are a borderline mentally challenged protagonist with a heart of gold is able to overcome adversity through the power of friendship and perseverance. At the end of the day, he's able to bang the hottest girl in town, get one over on the bully, and live happily ever after. This special is a perfect intersection of their personal aesthetics. Sandler's current material has the same whimsy as always, but with many of the jokes broaching on darker subject matter. With jokes about his grandmother hurting for money on a fixed income and opening up a kissing booth to pay the bills, his father beating him with a belt, and leaving the circus with his children and witnessing the death of the performers. His fantasy runs away with all these, describing how the kissing booth escalates to full-on prostitution, how he couldn't beat his kids because he wears sweatpants and daddy would have to chase him with the tassels, and going to the funeral for the clowns and throwing them all in one big coffin. They all start with the relatable, shitty aspect of your life, like somebody telling you to watch their stuff while they go to the bathroom or feeling unappreciated by your spouse. Then his imagination bifurcates from reality. He disassociates and takes you into a magical realm, talking balloons and genies, to express the feelings that are too uncomfortable to bring up in the real world. He's actually able to bring light to these things, which most comedians claim to do, but rarely pull off. You'll hear them on podcasts talking about all the hurt and trauma these controversial subjects cause, and how they're able to bring levity and joy to the situation. Then you hear their act, and they're like, "Nah, but for real, folks, trans people are disgusting." Like, alright, that's more of a comment than a joke, really. Adam Sandler had a mass shooting joke in his set. When a lot of modern comedians do edgier material, it's so telegraphed. They're like, "Oh, here it comes. Here's the edgy joke. Don't cancel me for this one."
School shootings.
What's in the bowl, bitch? Oh! Turn the lights on. I want to see this fucking crowd.
And there'll be a tepid laugh followed by a massive applause break. The audience is cheering at the concept of edgy jokes because they've been told it's an act of rebellion that they need to support. Whether the joke is funny or not, they're like, "Whoa, he's going for it. He's gonna do it. He's not retarded." And it's hardly ever a real take with conviction. They don't give a shit. It's just hitting the buzzwords. Are you really that controversial if it's on Netflix and advertisers are co-signing everything you're saying? Like, if you're a real controversial comedian, you'd be chased out of town to form a militia in the woods drinking paint thinner to kill the demons in your gut biome that give you gay thoughts.
It's a teaspoon of organic pine turpentine. It's one of the reasons old people used to live to be 100, and now people live to be 60 and they turn gay.
I digress. When Sandler tells a joke about darker subject matter, he's talking about his real experiences. He sings in one of his bits, "Guy at the movie theater with a backpack. Oh shit, now I can't focus on what Spider-Man is doing. Sitting between me and the exits. Oh, thank God he just brought snacks." And the audience weren't cheering, they were laughing. Hard. Because they've felt that uneasy anxiety, and he's able to express what it feels like to be in America and constantly being on guard, that anytime you're in a crowd, there could be a deranged man with a gun waiting. He lightens the load for people that have experienced that fear themselves, and that they're not alone in the paranoia. Some comedians promote division with an us versus them mentality. With the special I Love You, it's just us. He doesn't talk down to the audience or paint himself as the hero in his stories where everyone else is an idiot. If there's an idiot or someone to be ridiculed in the story, it's himself. And he causes you to reflect on if you're the same guy that needs to laugh at your own fault. Life sucks, but at least we can laugh about it. Doing comedy is also one of the things in life that sucks. It gets so bad. In the material, there's always something going wrong that he has to respond to. And in the live performance itself, everything is going wrong and he has to adapt to the situation. But when things go wrong, you just have to roll with the punches and laugh it off. I've had shows so bad I've quit for a period of time. I was going to be working with the first comedian that I ever saw perform live. It was an opening act of one of my favorite comedians, who I'm not going to name for legal reasons. I was booked to open for him in a basement in Florida that seats about 200 people. When I met him, he was fucked up on Klonopin because he was in a Greyhound bus accident from Miami to Tampa, and then he had to take a $300 Uber the rest of the way to the show. He was on the phone with his lawyer talking about how he can go about suing Greyhound for the accident. Only one audience member showed up. The show was canceled, so the comedians and the one fan were standing alone in the empty basement while he talks about the accident and how he wishes he was bruised up more so he could take photos for the lawsuit. He then proposes that we start hitting him. In lieu of a post-show meet and greet, his one fan jumps on the offer. Stand there in the empty basement while I watch somebody I was a fan of hold both of their hands above their head while a kid with gauged ears punches a 50-year-old man in the ribs as hard as he can. And I think, I don't know if I want to do the road anymore. After the kid's hand starts to get sore, the headliner says, "Hey, the Sugar Hill Gang is playing across the street. I'm gonna see if I can get the shit kicked out of me. You wanna come?" I go, "Nah, I think I'm gonna go back to college instead." But he was able to make the best of a bad situation. He literally rolled with the punches. When life gives you lemons, commit corporate insurance fraud. That's the type of mental fortitude that you need to be a comedian.
The technical difficulties narrative of I Love You comes to a resolution with the projectors being fixed in the nick of time for Sandler's closing song, an emotional love letter to comedy despite all of its faults. He sings about the feelings of isolation as a child and how hard life can get with breakups, bullying, and losing loved ones. The projectors show a montage of all the people who were able to help him forget his pain and move on. Highlights of I Love Lucy and SNL played, while singing about the solace he found in these classic comedies. He honors the greats that inspired him and the friends he came up with, and thanks them for giving him an alternative to laying in bed and drinking when life gets hard. It hit the same nerve as the scene in Judd Apatow's Freaks and Geeks, where Bill comes home from a hard day at school and is able to smile again watching Gary Shandling on HBO. The poignant thank you to Chris Farley and Norm Macdonald had me choked up by the end. He closes the show and heads backstage, and all of the anxiety of the production is alleviated. He sees his wife waiting for him and heads back to the car, with all of his crew celebrating they pulled off another show. They drive home as the credits roll, and you have the happy Madison feeling that everything is going to be okay. If I had to nitpick, I didn't understand the Rob Schneider Elvis Presley impersonation. Like, it was a good Elvis impersonation, but why? Why did that happen? I know him and Sandler are really good friends, and I think Schneider might have owed money to the IRS, so props to him for hooking up his buddy. I can overlook that segment because overall, this is one of the best comedy specials I've ever seen, and reminds me that I still like stand-up.